Hey guys, welcome back to Statchat Sports. You're here with Steve and Tazza. This is part two of episode 17 of the Premier League podcast. Part one, we touched on the FA Cup and what's to expect on the final day. We're going to move away from that now and dive a bit into some sort of end of year stuff. Back in the very first episode of our podcast, we both went through our champions. We both chose who we thought would be the eventual champions, the top four, the three relegated sides, and also our player of the year at that stage. That was at about the halfway point of the season. We're now at the end of the season. So we thought we'd revisit that and sort of see our picks and see sort of how they ended up. Tazza, between the two of us at that stage, we both picked City to end up as champions. I believe at that stage they might have had about a 10-point lead on the following pack. It's changed, but we probably see that still happening, don't we?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot more in City's favour back when we did these. I don't think we really expected Liverpool maybe to claw some points back, but definitely not to this point really. Where it's actually come down to the final day. I don't think in our wildest dreams would we have thought City were rolling, Liverpool had stumbled, and it was a bit nasty for a while, but here we are. Our prediction is likely to come true, but it was probably everyone's prediction at the same time. So,
yeah,
I wouldn't
can't take too much credit, I suppose.
Yeah, I wouldn't be calling myself Nostradamus anytime soon, but yeah, I'll still take it as a win.
Talk me through your top four there.
City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal. Really, it was probably what should have happened if Arsenal could have held up their end of the bargain. I mean, they've really done me dirty here. I had them there, should have been there, and for whatever reason, they decided to absolutely throw in the towel and think, no, we don't want Champions League. We're just going to turn over to Newcastle, who have been okay, but still, it's Arsenal. You should be better than that. But yeah, look, it was almost there. What were your top four?
Mine was probably worse. I had the same, but I had West Ham finishing fourth.
Yeah,
maybe a bit of a long shot.
I think you're going for a bit of a Hail Mary there, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think looking back at it there, if I remember rightly, they, out of the teams that were contention for that fourth spot at the time, they were playing the best football out of all of them. Obviously, plenty of football was still to be played, but yeah, they've really not had a great second half of the season compared to the rest of that pack. So I'm miles off the mark there.
Yeah, well, that's when Tottenham and Arsenal and United are all spluttering. No one wanted to win games. As soon as someone looked like gaining a bit of an ascendancy, it was straight back down, and all these teams were just taking turns and just giving up fourth spot. So, I mean, it was a speculative pick, but yeah, it's kind of blown up a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it has for sure. You could call it, I suppose, a bit of a bold prediction.
Oh yeah, I'll give it that. You are the king, but yeah, I'll. Well, it's you and me, 100%. That's bold.
Yeah. We both picked the same three sides for relegation. Obviously, two of them have been confirmed, Norwich and Watford. But our third pick back then was Burnley. Obviously, at this point, a three-horse race. As we touched on in part one, still plenty to play for there, and it could all change. You still think Burnley will be the third team? I said Leeds. But we're pretty much on the mark here.
Yeah, I mean, Burnley have got the game in hand, so they have a better chance of getting out than Leeds do. But yeah, I don't think Leeds were anywhere near. Probably not anywhere near, but weren't really in the conversation when we made these picks. So it's
not at all.
No, and I don't even think Bielsa had been sacked yet. So. No. They've gone through a management change. They've a bit of upheaval, and it hasn't worked, unfortunately. The form, they didn't really get that bounce that they probably were hoping for, or not enough of a sustained bounce. But yeah, I mean, Burnley or Leeds, who knows? Burnley had the game in hand, and I think the predictions will. I think we're right on the money.
I actually think at this point in time, Newcastle was still in there in the mix. The takeover had happened, and I think Eddie Howe had taken over, but not for very long, at least anyway.
Yeah.
So we were correct in not picking them because they have been very, very good since then. So yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think we could be just about on the money here with these three.
Yeah. Newcastle have just completely turned it around. I mean, I think we always had faith that with the investment and with a manager like Eddie Howe, it would turn around. And probably not to the in the way it has, where if they win, if results go their way, I had a look earlier. If results go their way and they win their last game, they'll be a top 10 team. That's pretty remarkable. I mean, there's a few results that have to go their way, but in the mid-table, anything can happen. So, yeah, pretty unreal.
And our last mid-season prediction was for the Player of the Year. We both had Mo Salah in there at that particular time. You threw out another name, Bernardo Silva, to be in contention. My personal opinion, like obviously at that point in time, it was a no-brainer. Salah was playing the best football he's probably played at Liverpool. But for me, I don't think he's there.
No, so agreed. I don't think he's there either.
I think there's definitely somebody else around who is getting that Player of the Year award. We'll get there a bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bernardo Silva as well, mate.
Yeah, I think he was in a bit of a rich vein of form there, and I thought he could have carried that through. And look, he's been good. He's definitely been right up there. But yeah, I would call that a speculative pick. Like I said, I picked it on form, and
yeah,
he was. It was a while there where I think he strung a few games together where he was just scoring goals consecutively, and really charging City ahead. But as City were brought back to the pack, the pack being Liverpool, he probably faltered a little bit. But yeah, look, Salah's had a pretty average second half of the season. So, I mean, what looked like a shoe-in is, there's quite a few people that could get it, the Player of the Year. But Salah leads goals and assists, both tallies, but to me, he doesn't feel like Player of the Year.
So in conjunction, not too bad from these mid-season picks. I mean, I suppose a mid-season pick is always a lot easier than a pick at the start of the season. But obviously we couldn't do that this time around. So we'll look forward to that next season. But yeah, not bad from us, mate. Not bad.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So speaking of Player of the Year, let's move on to our end of year awards. So we've both picked a Player of the Year, a young Player of the Year, which consists of a player under the age of 23 or 23 or under. The best new player, which is must be new to the league this year, or like an academy player, basically someone who's made their debut in the Premier League this year, and our Manager of the Year. So we'll start at Player of the Year since we're on that topic. You want to kick us off?
Yeah. Didn't have the greatest start to the year. Has worked his way into the year, and is finishing. He's coming home like a steam train. For me, it's Kevin De Bruyne. He's just, I mean, just when City look like they might be pipped at the post, Kevin De Bruyne has just stepped up, and they're just trouncing guys towards the end of the season. It's kind of mirror image to Salah. Salah's had a huge first half. De Bruyne was there or thereabouts, just floating along really. And it's just flip the script. Salah's been pretty average. De Bruyne is he's the best in the world for me, best midfielder in the world. And so for that, yeah, it's hard for me to go past him.
Yeah, I agree. My pick as well, Kevin De Bruyne. For me, he's the best player in the league. I
Yeah.
mean, how he can dictate a game is just ridiculous. And like you said, especially towards this back half of the year, he's been instrumental for him. I mean, 4 goals at Newcastle was, taking his goal tally to 15, which is madness. We haven't seen those numbers from a midfielder for a long time.
When you're bossing a game like De Bruyne is, and you're adding the end product to it, I mean, how do you go past it? It's the thing that sets a midfielder apart is the goals and assists, but to this degree, it's something else.
Definitely, he's probably, for me, maybe City's best player ever to play for the club.
I think, when it's all said and done, I agree. I think he'll be there 100%. Up there with,
I think difficult to argue
Aguero.
against that one.
Up there with Aguero.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Be hard to argue against that one, but it'd be interesting to see if anyone does have any other thoughts. Let us know. Let us know keen to know any of your thoughts on all of this stuff. Let us know who your pick for all of these are. Be interesting to see. Young Player of the Year. I'll kick this one off.
Yeah, you kick this one off.
I've gone Bukayo Saka.
2 from 2, mate. I agree. Special mention to Phil Foden. But yeah, I mean, I'll let you start. But yeah, I agree.
The main reason for me is the way he's been able to sort of transform his game after a difficult Euros, and obviously how all of that ended for him. For a young player to turn it around the way that he has, 11 goals for the season so far for him, which should be his highest tally. He's really been sort of Arsenal's go-to and focal point in the games. He's the one that has sort of dug them out of trouble every now and then, and has kind of spearheaded that Arsenal team. And I mean, there's probably 2 other players in that Arsenal squad that you could throw into the mix as a potential young player of the year. I mean, Ødegaard, Smith Rowe, maybe even Martinelli. But for me, Saka is the tip of the top. He pips Foden for me. Yes, good season from Foden, but I feel like he's been a little bit quiet in this second half, whereas Saka's just been that consistent the whole way through.
Yeah, I mean, Foden's stats, they're always going to be inflated when you play for City. I mean, so 9 goals and 5 assists from Foden. You'd probably be wanting a little more in a side that scores so freely, I think. I mean, they're forever attacking. They're just pounding teams generally. But yeah, Saka, I mean, he's been the key to Arsenal's probably unlikely charge for Champions League football. Like we said in part 1, where Arsenal fans probably would have taken a 5th spot considering where they were. He's been a big part in the fact that I don't think they saw that he would have. He's kind of taken over that attack, really, with Martinelli. Obviously, they expected big things from him, but I don't know if, especially given, like you said, Euro 2020, how that finished. I'm not sure if they saw him taking such a grasp of this team. And yeah, led from the front. He's been huge. He's just been instrumental for them. And yeah, he's well deserving of a young player of the year.
I think there could definitely see some other picks out there. So interesting to see what other people say. We'll move on to the best new player. I think we might have the same player here again. This is all not scripted or anything. We haven't discussed these off camera.
Not at all. Yeah.
And we did sort of think that we might have some differences here, but the more I'm looking at it, the more I feel like we might not.
I really thought that one would have been the difference, the young player.
Yeah.
But yeah. We'll dead the same. And yeah, like you said, I think we're going to be similar here.
What have you got?
Luis Diaz. I think it has to be. I spent a lot of time looking at this because I didn't. Obviously, we're Liverpool fans, and I didn't want to do it. I wanted to add some variety to it, but where do you go? I just don't think anyone's really taken, especially the fact he arrived in January. He hasn't had the whole year. He hasn't had a preseason with the club, and the way he hit the ground running, and like man of the match in the FA Cup final. He's just tearing it apart at the moment. I mean, he's not the goals and the assists aren't coming super freely, but he's just a menace. They are coming. I mean, he's got a pretty healthy stat sheet given. He has been at the club for 4 months, but he's not scoring in player of the year caliber kind of stats, but that's not what you want him to be. He only just arrived at the club, but it's scary what he could be next season. Put a preseason under Jurgen Klopp with him, and I think, Liverpool have got one.
I absolutely agree. I mean, this is a no-brainer for me. I don't care if it looks biased or not. It's try and argue it against me. I'll argue back.
Yeah,
it's simple as that.
Yeah, I was trying to find a point. I can't find one. It's it's a no contest.
I mean, he comes in straight away, wins 2 trophies, and was pivotal in helping Liverpool reach the Champions League final, especially in that second leg, Villarreal. So, I mean, in its own right, I mean, yes, obviously add in the goals and the assists as well. There's been a few of each here, but he's just been instrumental to the success that Liverpool have had since he's come in. And like you said, with no preseason, very little sort of training, I suppose. I mean, his first game was like a few days after he joined.
Yeah.
And he just looked like he'd been at the club.
Yeah.
For at least since the summer. So
yeah, that's not the Jurgen Klopp way usually as well with new signings. It's give you. I was honestly surprised he'd played much at all this from the end of the window to now. Obviously, being in more competitions facilitated the need to get more legs on the park, but the role that he's been given, and not to lead the line, but to be a focal point in that attack, it's crazy.
He's made it really difficult for Klopp not to pick him, really. I mean, before he came, it was Salah, Jota, and Mane, and Jota was spearheading the line. And since he's come in, he's been that good. He's almost forced Jota out, and Mane's been playing in the middle. Such is the way he, as good as he's been playing, because he's basically saying, he's like, look, I'm here. I'm playing well, so keep me in.
Yeah. Well, like you said, the form goal scorer of the comp at the time, Jota, has been bumped out, and Mane, who is one of the dynamic trio. I'm trying to find the Firmino, the Mane, and Salah, like that. That was the trio, and Mane was arguably one of the most consistent out of them, and he's basically had to shift him to accommodate Diaz, and that's all you can ask for.
Our manager of the year. I'm gonna kick this one off. Not Jurgen Klopp, not Pep Guardiola for me. I've gone Eddie Howe.
Come on.
Don't tell me.
I did it as well. I thought, surely you're not going to do that. You're not going to do Eddie Howe. I will send you a photo of this. I've got it all here. It's right here. I've not changed it. He's right there. I'll let you kick it off though.
Look, I mean, it's easy I feel like it's easy to pick the team that eventually ends up as champions as the manager. Yeah. And, as good as Jurgen Klopp has done, obviously got Liverpool in a position for a quadruple. I mean, if they won it, it's never been done before. So he has to be up there. But for me, the job Eddie Howe's done in the time that he's been at the club has been, I think, short of, unbelievable, really.
A miracle.
Position that, a miracle is a good way of putting it. The position that they at Newcastle were in when he came, rock bottom of the table, 14 games played, 0 wins.
First team.
No club has ever survived after that kind of start. And not only that, he's their their win ratio in that last 22, 11 wins, 3 draws, 8 losses. That in its own right, 36 points gained, an average of 1.64 points per game. That's over the course of a 38 game season. That equates to roughly 62 points. That's a top 7 performance.
That's huge.
In some seasons, maybe even top 5, top 6.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, obviously the takeover happened, injected a shitload of money into the club, but he's gone by the way of, besides maybe Bruno Guimaraes, the signings he's made, we kind of raised a few eyebrows at some of them to think, okay, are these really going to be the players to, move Newcastle to the next level? Dan Burn, Trippier, Chris Wood. But what he's done is he's brought in experience, a heavy Premier League experience into that side, really solidified the spine. And then, just that managerial class himself to change the game style, change the mentality of the fans and stuff like that. He deserves to be in the position that he's in. I don't think he will get it in real life. It'll go to either Pep Guardiola or Klopp. I'd love to see it happen because he really deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, any manager can be given money, can be given the money that Howe was given, and any manager can spend it. I mean, that's the easy part. It's getting the players to gel together, and the investment that was made. It wasn't at the start of the year; it was in the middle of the year. He's turned this club around. He hasn't had bugger all time to do it, and that's the best thing about it, is they haven't just scraped their way through. He's picked these players for a reason. I mean, he turned Joel Linton into a bloody good midfielder.
What? Oh, I mean, he joined to the club. I think at the time he was their record fee, and he ended up being a flop striker. Who, like you said, he's turned into quite a good midfielder.
Yeah, so like that in itself, I mean, that needs kudos to him, because Joel Linton was heading for the bin. He was heading for the rubbish tip. I mean, the amount of slander he was copying for some of his performances, and rightly so, they were pretty terrible. It was pretty ridiculous, but I mean, although deserved. But yeah, some of the changes he's made and what he's done with that team is nothing short of remarkable. So yeah, I like you said, I don't think he'll get it. It's got to go to one of the big two, unfortunately. Yeah, but I think he'd be a great winner if he was to get it.
So as it turns out, we picked exactly the same picks in a segment that we thought we might have had some differences. It just turns out great minds think alike.
That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, make sure you're letting us know your picks down below, whether you agree with ours or not. Let us know. Everyone's got their different opinions, so it's interesting to find out. I can't believe that.
I thought surely he's not going to get Eddie Howe here. I thought I was onto a just under the radar one.
Smoky. Yeah.
No.
I figured we would have maybe Kevin De Bruyne and probably Luis Diaz.
Yeah. I thought.
But I didn't.
So I searched high and low for someone other than Diaz, but I just couldn't find anyone.
The only other one potentially, but I didn't realize Kulusevski's got himself 8 assists, which is like top 8 for assists.
Yeah, that's pretty good. At that pace, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
true.
But, Diaz has had more of an impact for me.
Yeah. No. 100%.
Let's end with our team of the year. This one we have discussed off of air. Some similar picks in here. I actually think there's only 2 players difference between the two of us. Do you want to walk us through the defense?
Okay. I'll start with the goalkeeper. We've both gone with Alisson, Liverpool. Going through the defenders, we'll touch on each one of these after I've read them all out. Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. Got Van Dijk and Diaz as centre backs. And personally, I've gone for Cancelo at right back.
Okay. Yeah, my difference there is Robertson. Andy Robertson slots in at left back for me.
Yeah. I mean, both are good picks. They've both. I mean, Robertson's got 10 assists for the year. I'm pretty sure he's in double digits once again. So he's been an attacking force, and probably the reason I chose Cancelo was, I mean, it's probably not the best metric when you look at it when you isolate it, but he's got the most passes in the league. So clearly he's instrumental in their build up and in their play. He's the root of most of their attacking play, clearly. So the fact that he's playing that, and he's not a terrible defender either. I mean, some people say Alexander-Arnold has a terrible defensive record. Rah, rah, rah. That's the only reason he can't be a top defender. I mean, Cancelo's he's still quite good. He's controlling a lot of City's game, and that's why he's there for me.
No, that's a fair point, and I would agree, but just, I mean, based off of facts for me, stats rather, Robertson more goals, albeit one, more assists. I think Cancelo had a really, really good start to the season, but I think just the consistency that Robertson shows is pretty much what got him the tip for me. The other four that you mentioned there, I don't really think there's much of an argument there for any of those. I mean, Alisson's the best keeper in the league for me. Edison has 20 clean sheets as well, but I mean, Alisson's just a better shot stopper, and without him, Liverpool wouldn't be in the position that they're in. It's just as simple as that for me.
Yeah, in the second half of the year, Alisson's probably won them some games. He's definitely been pivotal in maybe not being directly responsible for the win, but there's been clutch moments where he's had to perform to really keep the pressure off their back. And he's just come up with some pretty unreal saves, just at really good times.
Our midfield, we both picked Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva in there as two. I went with Rodri. I've gone with a full City midfield. Rodri there in the holding. A little bit of a smoky from you.
Yeah, so I've gone for a little bit of not a lower table flavour, but just someone who, I mean, he's rated, I think, in most people's eyes, but I think he's been really good this season. And I've gone with Declan Rice. I think I like the fact he's been doing it for a more average team. And maybe he just stands out more in a team that's not doing so well. But for me, he's been instrumental for West Ham, really challenging at the start of the season. Probably the same deal. He was right up there. Him and Jared Bowen, for me, were two reasons why they were so high up at the start of the season. May have faltered a little bit, but I mean, I was tossing up between Rodri as well. He's been really good in that City midfield, but Rodri's got more of the more goals. But I think Declan is. I mean, West Ham, the defense isn't an all-world defense. But he does have to sit in front of that back four and really. I mean, you're not going to get the goals from him, but you're going to get what you need is protection. And his tackle numbers and his interception numbers are elite. Like they're really good. So yeah, that's why he gets my pick. A bit more of a defensive flavor with the two attacking guys in that in the midfield alongside him.
No, I like the pick. Definitely. For me, it was between Rodri and Fabinho personally. You could have flipped a coin, but I think defensive stats wise for Rodri, they're just pipped Fabinho, the final hurdle there. I mean, his tackles and just his duels that he wins just beats Fabinho there a little bit. I mean, he's such an instrumental player for City. You know, his style of play allows City to play their attacking football as freely as they want. And he's just a rock. And he gets himself forward and he's not afraid to get himself involved in the goals either. Couple of assists as well. So, that's basically my reason just for picking him over over anyone else there.
Yeah, Rodri's got a rocket of a boot on him, and I've seen him hit a few from outside the box. He's he knows how to find the corner.
Yeah, he certainly does. To end it off, our front three, we've picked the same here once again. Mo Salah, Harry Kane, and Heung-min Son.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. He's leading both categories. Yeah, the second half of the season hasn't been great, but such was the class of the first half that he just has to be there. And on his day, he's just been unreal. Kane and Son, their second halves of the season have really got them here. Son especially, he'd walk into any team in the world for me right now.
Oh, absolutely.
He's
no doubt.
And it's the way in which he scores some of these goals. They're not tap ins, or there's some real beautiful goals in here, and he can do it all really. And it's just magic to watch. And I mean, Kane, everyone thought he was probably a little bit done after this season. Everyone thought, has Kane bottled it after he missed his City transfer? I mean, no. I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to hit 20 this year, but
he's 4 off.
Yeah,
possible against Norwich.
There you go. It probably might happen. And look, I'll probably just that's my bold prediction for the week. We don't do one here, but I'm doing one here. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll take it. But yeah, Kane. I mean, he's still had another great season. Yeah, probably given the mantle somewhat to Son to really dominate that attack. But along with Kulusevski, those three are just killing teams.
Yeah, they've turned Tottenham's season around in the second half, for sure. I mean, after the disappointment of the Euros again for Harry Kane, and obviously the disappointment of not getting the move to City that he wanted, a very slow start. Very, very slow start. But yeah, I mean, 16 goals. He's still sitting fourth in the Golden Boot race at the moment. So for that, it's not too bad. And Salah, not much more to add there. He basically said it all. If he hadn't have slowed down after AFCON and he continued the way he was going, he near on could have hit 40 goals this year.
I think, yeah, AFCON's a big factor here. It's probably something that hasn't been touched on enough as to why Salah is playing the way he is. He's burnt out, 100%. You can't play that much football and be expected to back it up sometimes twice a week since August, September. It's just inhuman. You just can't do it. It's superhuman. I mean, to do that kind of stuff.
The Liverpool team in its own right have played every single game possible this season. Obviously, they went because they've gone all the way in the cup games. So I think it's well over 60 games or something like that they've played.
64 games, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Plenty of football under the legs, plus obviously AFCON for Salah and Mane as well. Yeah, it's a hell of a lot of football to be played. Just mentally maybe as well after AFCON, the disappointing result. And then obviously the World Cup qualifier not going his way as well.
Yeah.
It just hasn't quite ticked for him in his second half, but he definitely deserves to be up there for sure. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And yes, Son, I mean, 21 goals, second in the race at the moment. Not a single penalty either in all of that. 21 goals from open play is insane. A winger as well. I mean, these are striker numbers. It's between these two. Salah likes to call himself a winger, which in my eyes he is. But we're seeing maybe this is the direction football's going is wingers these days. Scoring a bit more, but yeah, I mean, he's played such a huge part of why Tottenham will probably more than likely finish in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, Salah's more of the focal point of the Liverpool attack, where I know I just said Son is, but I think Kane is there to lead it. But Son is slowly becoming more of a duo than Kane being the real focal point.
That's all we're going to have time for today. Bit of a long one. We appreciate you for sticking around. Make sure you let us know. And I've said it, but make sure you're letting us know below who your end of the year awards go for. Let us know your team of the years. Interesting to see a couple of different names throw in there. So, second last episode, mate. All done and dusted. Next week is the end. By next week, we would have had the Premier League winners crowned. So we would have had our 3 relegated teams and our top 4. So plenty to talk about next week. So look out for that. Thanks all for listening, and we'll see you all next week.